Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today we've got a combination that a lot of you guys have been waiting for us to test, and it's one that I definitely want to see what it can do as well through this specific choke combination. I think we should see a really good looking pattern. There's definitely a chance that this might be about as good as you can get for a buckshot pattern out there at 40 yards. I don't know, we're just gonna have to test it and see. But as for the ammunition we brought out here today, I got some more of these, the Federal Premium Flite Control buckshot shells. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 9 pellet loaded double-aught buck, moving about 1,325 feet per second. And we've done a decent amount of testing with these so far, and they have been some pretty nice performing buckshot shells, that's for sure. The Flite Control wad really seems to come into its own with buckshot, so we know that these are a good shell, but what can they do through today's choke combination? And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out the Remington 11A7 here with this choke. This is the Kicks Buck Kicker full choke. It measures out to be right at about a 693 constriction. And this buck kicker, I was a little skeptical at first whether this would be any more useful or give us better patterns than a stock full choke would, but so far it's shown us some really impressive results. So in theory, if these are kind of designed to be a hunting shell with that Flite Control wad, which we have also tested through factory full chokes and things like that with some very good results, even though it is a Flite Control wad, I'm thinking we should see some pretty nice looking results out of this combination. But as for the test today, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph as well so we can get our velocity. I also have some templates that we can lay up over our target to get that better reference point as for how the results look if you were to use them in some more real life type scenarios. So enough talking, let's head over here and get set up and take this shot and just see what these Federal Flite Control double-aught buck shells can do through the buck kicker here today. Okay, so that shell gave us 1350 through the chrono. The box claim is 1325, so I think we're pretty well right where we're supposed to be in the low to mid 1300 range. So I'd say we're looking pretty much just fine up here as far as velocity goes. But what kind of a pattern did we actually get down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what it gave us. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And I gotta say, this is not at all what I was expecting to see out of this. This is terrible for a Flite Control loaded double-aught buck, that's for sure. This is absolutely the worst pattern we've ever gotten out of these shells by a long shot. Typically, these are always within the 12 to 16 inch type of range at 40 yards. And this spread gave us 25 inches. And as you can see, it's not even at all. It's just a pretty much straight up and down string of pellets. So I was not at all expecting to see that. And like I already kind of mentioned earlier, we have tested these shells through kind of the full gambit of chokes, and they did much better in the full choke type of range than they did in the cylinder and improved cylinder range. But clearly something about this combination, or maybe, I don't know, quality control in this specific shell, which I don't really think is the case today. I think it's just this combination clearly didn't really work out the way we were hoping it to, that's for sure. But I guess let's throw some templates up here and see what it would have done if you would have taken this shot out in the field in a more real life type of scenario. Okay, here's the 10-inch circle, and if we line it up with the actual core of our pattern here, which is off to the right just a touch, as you can see, we got 3 pellets in there, which is not at all typical for these Flite Control shells. They usually always have at least 5 or 6 in there at 40 yards. So definitely not looking great there, that's for sure. There's a big hole right in the core as well. So sure, 3 pellets through the vital area, 10-inch circle on a deer or something like that, which we'll look at those templates here in a second. But good enough, but not typical Flite Control buckshot type of performance, that's for sure. But speaking of deer, let's throw the deer template up here and line it up with our actual point of aim and see what would have happened if you would have taken this shot on a deer out in the field. Alright, so here's our deer template, and if we line it up with our actual point of aim there in that white dot, we would have had 4 out of the 9 pellets actually hit the deer. Typically, again, with these Flite Control shells, you have at least like 6 to 7 of them confirmed inside this deer template, if not more, at 40 yards. Now, I do still think this would be a dead deer. I mean, there's a lot of vitals and stuff up there getting close to that neck area, a lot of big arteries and stuff. So I do think you would have gotten him, but definitely not really what I'm looking for in a buckshot shell, which surprises me to say since these are a flight control load. But I guess take it for what it's worth, and this combination I just don't think worked out for us. But I guess we do have one more template we can throw up and take a look at. I think it's going to be pretty much the same story, but we'll put the hog template up there just to take a quick look and see what it looks like anyway. We already know it's probably going to be pretty disappointing, but let's take a glance at it. Alright, here's that hog template, and it's slightly better. We had 5 pellets within the template this time, and I do once again think that would probably still be good enough to would have gotten you that hog, but as you can clearly see, this is not a typical flight control looking pattern, so definitely something did not work out here today, that's for sure. But that's why you test different combinations, because sometimes they can surprise you and be really good. Other times, combinations that should work together on paper and in thought just don't do anything like what you want them to do or would expect them to do. And this is definitely one of those combinations. So technically, yes, it is good enough, but if you were wanting to run these flight control shells through a butt kicker, I would probably say you can try a shell of them through there, but you're probably going to find that your factory full choke might work out better for you. So a little disappointing as compared to what I was hoping and expecting to see today, but that's why you come out here and test things. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and it is just your standard flight control wad. Definitely nothing too special to see, and it looks very much normal. The only thing I'm noticing is that this one little side pedal right here didn't open up quite like the other two did. And we've seen that before in some of our testing, but still, never results this poor for these shells. And I already know what a lot of people are probably commenting by this point, saying that this wad is designed for no choke or an improved cylinder choke, and that was the case a little bit, but we've tested these through the full range of chokes and we know they do well all the way down into the full choke type of range. So this combination should have in theory worked out. It just didn't for one reason or another, and it doesn't look like we have any snags or anything either for the porting inside that choke. So it just didn't really work out, surprisingly enough here. But as for the wad, there's really not a whole lot to point out other than that one little side flap. Alright y'all, well, what do you think about those results right there? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we have still seen worse out of buckshot shells before, so it is still good enough. But in the sense of it being a flight control double-aught buck load, this is terrible results compared to what we typically see out of these shells. So something didn't work out here today, which is rather surprising because I was expecting to see some pretty good results. Like I've already said several times, we've tested them through the full range of chokes, and the stock full choke in that 1187, which gave us some great results, is right at a 688 constriction, and this butt kicker is right at 693. So the constriction, I don't think that was the problem here today. Could it have been something weird to do with the porting, playing with the wad design or something like that? I think that's probably the most likely case scenario here. I guess it could have been something to do with quality control in that particular shell or something as well, but I don't really think that's the case. But I guess let me know your thoughts about it down below. Is it about what you expected, or were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested this combination of shell and choke, and if so, what has been your results with them, and what do you think happened here today as to why we saw those kind of results? Let me know all that down in the comments below, because I definitely want to see what you guys think about it. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we got the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.